Hook, the unstoppable beast. A dense forest in a classified research facility shudders as a massive weight hits the earth. A squad of elite soldiers, armed with the latest carbon fiber rifles and high-velocity 5.56mm rounds, takes aim. The order is given, and a hail of gunfire erupts. But the target, a resurrected Tyrannosaurus Rex, doesn't fall. The bullets, designed to pierce human armor, seem to disappear into the thick, pebbled hide of the creature. It doesn't scream in pain. It roars in irritation. Before the soldiers can reload, the biological titan lunges, its sheer mass turning a reinforced military vehicle into a heap of twisted metal. This is the nightmare of de-extinction, the realization that our modern world may be woefully unprepared for the physical reality of the prehistoric past. Introduction: the fragile line between science and survival. De-extinction is no longer the stuff of pure fantasy. With advancements in CRISPR gene editing and synthetic biology, the prospect of walking among long-lost species is becoming a tangible, albeit terrifying, possibility. While the scientific community debates the ecological impact, a darker question looms in the shadows of military and tactical circles. Could we control these creatures if they escaped? This isn't just about animal management. It's a question of ballistics, mechanical force, and biological resilience. When we talk about bringing back the dinosaurs, we are talking about introducing a class of biological tanks into an urban environment designed for soft-bodied mammals. The moral horror of de-extinction lies not just in the plain God aspect, but in the potential for a catastrophic mismatch between modern defense systems and prehistoric biology. To understand the gravity of this, we must look beyond the cinematic tropes and analyze the raw data of dinosaur anatomy compared to modern military hardware. Anatomical armor, the shield of the prehistoric. To understand why a dinosaur would be a nightmare on a modern battlefield, we have to look at their construction. A Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't just big, it was a masterpiece of structural engineering. Its hide wasn't like the skin of an elephant or a rhino. Fossil evidence suggests many large theropods possess skin reinforced with osteoderms, bony deposits that act like natural chainmail. Even without these bone skins, the sheer thickness of the dermis and the underlying layers of dense muscle and connective tissue would act as a non-Newtonian fluid barrier against small caliber fire. When a standard military round hits a target, it relies on hydrostatic shock to incapacitate. However, against the creature with the mass of 10 tons, the shock waves of a small bullet are localized and largely absorbed by massive muscle groups. To stop a T-Rex, you aren't just looking for a wound, you're trying to penetrate a skull the size of a refrigerator protected by bones several inches thick. Standard infantry rifles, which are optimized for weight and rapid fire against human targets, would likely be as effective as bee stings against the vital organs of a multi-ton dinosaur. Furthermore, the healing factor and adrenaline of these animals cannot be ignored. A prehistoric predator, evolved in an era of constant, brutal combat with other giants, possesses a nervous system tuned for survival under extreme physical trauma. A creature that can survive a bite from another T-Rex is not going to be stopped by a flesh wound from a handgun. Climax: ballistics versus biology. The true horror emerges when we simulate a tactical engagement. If an infantry unit encountered a rogue Triceratops, they would find that their primary weapon systems are fundamentally ill-suited for the task. The frill of a Triceratops was a solid shield of bone, capable of deflecting the upward thrust of a rival's horns. In a modern context, this frill acts as a natural ballistic shield. To effectively neutralize such a threat, the military would have to escalate to heavy weaponry, anti-material rifles, autocannons, or even guided missiles like the Javelin. This is where the moral horror becomes a civilian tragedy. Using a Hellfire missile to stop a dinosaur in a populated area results in massive collateral damage. We're essentially forced to use overkill tactics because our standard, measured responses are biologically irrelevant to a creature from the Cretaceous. Moreover, the speed and agility of these animals are often underestimated. A raptor-class dinosaur with its low center of gravity and bird-like reflexes would be an incredibly difficult target for automated turret systems designed to track larger, slower vehicles or human-sized heat signatures. In an urban gray zone, these creatures become invisible predators that can bypass modern security sensors calibrated for metal or human infrared profiles. The ethical void. Should we engineer the end? Beyond the physical danger, the de-extinction debate forces us to confront a terrifying ethical question. Are we creating these creatures just to eventually be forced to hunt them down? If a resurrected species cannot be safely contained by civilian means and requires a military response every time a fence fails, then we haven't brought back an animal. We have created a permanent state of biological warfare. There is also the Frankenstein factor. If we bring back these creatures using gap-filling DNA from modern frogs or birds, we might accidentally create something even more resilient than the original. We could be engineering super predators with prehistoric power and modern environmental adaptability. The moral horror is the realization that we're inviting an apex predator back into a world that has evolved to be soft, organized, and vulnerable. Conclusion. The lesson of the fossil record. The urge to see a dinosaur in the flesh is a powerful human desire, driven by curiosity and a sense of wonder. But the tactical analysis suggests that this wonder would quickly turn into a desperate struggle for dominance. The dinosaurs didn't go extinct because they were weak. They were the most successful land predators the Earth has ever seen. Bringing them back into a world of glass, steel, and light-caliber weapons is an act of supreme arrogance. In the end, the question isn't whether we can bring them back, but whether we have the right to force the modern world to deal with the consequences of their return. The fossil record is a book that was closed for a reason. If we choose to reopen it, we must be prepared to face the fact that our modern might may look very small when standing in the shadow of a hungry, resurrected king. We are not just bringing back a species, we are bringing back a physical force that humanity spent the last 65 million years avoiding.